What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Full 40 presented by Home Field Apparel, here with Chris, Trevor, yours truly, Willie, and today we have a special guest, none other than JP Carlismo. For anyone who doesn't know, it's not PJ Carlismo, it is JP Carlismo, Seton Hall's finest, and the podcast group that, just had a good road trip up to Providence. Fellas, how we doing?
I'm doing better than Chris. Chris can't speak still.
Yeah, if you notice that dead silence, it was Chris trying to speak, but a frog at his throat.
I'm having an existential crisis right now, not being able to talk.
I thought I sounded bad. He gave me a little bit of confidence there to go through the rest of this. Now I feel a lot better.
Yeah, no, you could talk for another 3 hours and you'd still be well ahead of Chris. So yeah, we just had the best weekend of our lives collectively in Providence. We got to meet the real JP, who may or may not have an actual real name.
It's not business.
Yeah, no one's business. So it was nice. We will get an unbiased, well, actually a biased, but not the way that we're biased, third-party perspective on how the game went for us over the weekend and what we can expect going forward on Wednesday. But let's talk Providence.
Yeah, I mean, so as we said for the last couple of weeks, the whole full 40 went to the Providence game, and we had a good old time. We hit a couple bars pregame, none of which I can remember the names of off the top of my head because Murphy's. We're at Murphy's. That's one.
We were at Murphy's the night before. Headed over to G-Pub. Chris got a high score on the Papa Shot basketball.
Chris is really good at Papa Shot. It was kind of shocking. Like, I don't think Chris can put together a dribble package to save his life, but Papa Shot, he was like 9 off the high score. Like, he was doing really well.
Chris is the Brennan Hausen. Yeah. Brennan Hausen-esque on the Papa Shot. Woke up bright and early for some Dunkin', and then we met up with JP at Trinity. That was it, right? Yeah. Great time, low prices, especially when Chris is paying. And nobody was super mean to us before the game, which I looked obnoxious. I don't want to say you all looked obnoxious, but I did.
I went understated. I thought I could go a little bit more, but I was like, I'll just wear a Villanova hat. I'll be in a hoodie. I'll be understated. I'll be normal. No one usually bothers me anyways. I'm too smooth for that.
Brian,
I get it chirped. There was only
one guy really didn't like Trevor.
Well, yeah, that's true. The guy sitting behind us did not like Trevor. Hey, buddy, sit the fuck down over there.
The guy outside.
Yeah. No, yeah, the guy outside.
No, the guy outside doesn't remember that, but it happened.
Yeah, no. I stood up for our first 3-point attempt, and the guy behind me just yelled, "Sit down, boy," and got us off to a great start for the rest of the game.
And we were worried for a second because Willie was with us, so it was.
You said it, and I was like, "Oh boy."
So Willie was also sitting down at the time, so he was clearly talking
Chris,
to me, the only one standing.
Chris, can you explain what you mean about Willie?
Yeah, that would have been racist if he said that to Willie. That's what I mean.
Anyways.
It would have been racist.
Moving on.
So let's talk the game.
No. First of all, there are two groups of people. I thought we were going to get chirped by 18 to 33-year-old fratty type dudes. Not at all. Two groups of people that chirped us at all were I don't know, 50-year-old men and college-age girls. Those are the two types.
Actually, I'm gonna add a third group to the mix. When I walked in and sat down, I looked behind me, and there was an 8-year-old just looking at me with 2 thumbs down. So 3 groups. Yeah, the college girls, the old men, and the preteens.
JP, is it like that normally?
No, I was going to say it's very tame. But you also need to add a little bit of context that Chris had on the orange Divine Providence shirt. And what did I say it was like pregame? Brian, correct me. I forgot what it was. What did I say? Wearing that shirt in Providence is like?
He
He's not going to jump in now on this one. No.
Yeah, no. You got the word wrong, but the spirit of it was correct. I'm not going to remember because I talked so much all weekend. My voice is here because I'm tough, but it'll come to me throughout the show.
Your vocal cords.
Chris had like a get out of
jail free card. Like one person tried to chirp him. He's like, "No, I have the T-shirt." People were like, "Oh man, this guy bought a T-shirt."
Yeah,
which kind of shows how simple-minded they are.
Yeah,
That's what
it was a show of solidarity. But I was wearing my Wildcats bomber shirt, bomber jacket
from Home Field Apparel,
presented by Home Field Apparel. Promo code NOVA Insider.
There was someone sitting like 3 seats down from Chris wearing the same jacket, and when we walked in the row, he would not relinquish until Chris gave him a high five, and Chris didn't see it at first, so it was really fun for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, you guys want to go to the basketball game?
So yeah, we got chirped by a couple of people, and then a pretty good basketball game happened. So, I mean, the game was. I mean, if no one's been to the dunk before, absolutely electric from top to bottom. It started off pretty back and forth first half. I don't think any team really had a stronghold. Providence was probably, they finished with like a 4-point lead. They were probably slightly better there across the board, but there was great shot making from Nova. There was great shot making on the Providence side.
There was shot making.
Sure, there was shot making.
So every other attempt was either off the bottom of the backboard or it was nothing but net. And that's kind of just how.
And I remember nothing but nets because I look at everything as a glass half full.
Yeah. And I was like, I can't wait to see the next one hit the bottom of the backboard.
Yeah. A lot of people shot well. Mark Armstrong almost threw it over the backboard twice.
Chris was unnecessarily hard on Mark Armstrong down the stretch of that game.
Mark opened up
first half. Second half, he keyed the whole thing.
Yeah.
But the first half, the layup bricks were really bothering me.
His first one was incredible.
That was so funny. I met you at halftime, and the entire time, like as soon as we first got together, I didn't even say a word. You were just motherfucking Mark Armstrong for like a good 35, 40 seconds, just unprompted. Just was like, it was because he missed the layup at the end, but it was so funny, just like unprompted. You just went off on him for no reason really at all.
I like Mark too. It just bothered me so much. Oh man. But to Trevor's point, Providence either was literally nothing but the bottom of the net or literally the bottom of the backboard. It was
like
there was
the worst
no
shot
in
attempt
between.
you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And they hit their first, like, I think they hit 4 of their first, like, 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the game, so you're kind of thinking, like, oh, this might get unfortunate really quickly. This might turn into a long car ride. But, you know, they have 2 guys, I think, that can consistently score. And one of them tore his ACL, like, 3 months ago. So...
Yeah, in the first 5 minutes, they had they were 4 threes. Pierre hit a couple. Pierre hit one, I think. Ticket Gaines hit 2. Pierre hit 1.
It's a great name.
It's a fantastic name. And then Barron hit another. And we were down 12-6. I think we even got down at a point. I think 12-6 was like.
I think we got down 7 at one point.
Yeah, 12-6. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and then we got down to 7 a little bit later. We were down 7 late, 35-28, right after Devin Carter hit that 3-pointer, which I was calling out that was going to happen that entire time.
You know that one.
I was just like, Devin Carter will hit this 3, and we will call timeout, and that's exactly what happened. So Providence gets a strong lead. Once again, we played well. It wasn't like we were playing poorly. It's just, sometimes you make shots, sometimes you don't. Providence made more shots. But honestly, where things really got better, and we're going to give him a big shout out here. It's after halftime, we made adjustments. Kyle Neptune made adjustments. We came out in the second half focused. We were locked in defensively. And I mean, we went on, to use our own term, or the terms that have been killing us all year, we went on our own kill shot run.
Yeah, we focused on defense and rebounding, and
get back.
We got back. Mark had the mid-range game going to start off the second. I think he had 2 in a row to start the second half. Guys are making timely threes, and Providence could not buy a basket. It was so nice to see it happen to somebody else.
I'm mistaken. It wasn't a kill shot. Providence scored in it. But
Never mind.
It was a great run.
Yeah.
Providence just couldn't buy a basket. It was really weird. Like first 7 minutes of that half, there was a lid on the basket. It didn't matter what they were doing. Nothing was going down. And there was a moment about like 16 minutes in the game, 17 minutes, where it was like 41-37. And there was just, they were missing baskets. We were missing baskets. And the game had this feeling, this tenor of like, if we make a shot here, I think we have a chance to like stretch this out and take control. If Providence makes a shot, this is going to go down the stretch. And it went back and forth for a bit. And then Eric Dixon had a layup, and then it followed up with a Hausen 3. And then the floodgates had opened up, and Hausen was feeling great. And I mean, unlike what UConn's done and what other teams did, like I think Providence did a decent job on Hausen. I think he only shot 3 or 4 times. But like they let him get hot when it mattered, and he got hot, and he went up to 12. And then after that, Providence, fought back and did whatever, but it had basically you could tell the tenor of it was like Providence had to string together multiple shots and multiple stops in a row to get there, and they just couldn't find that shot or stop because of the shot making of the team down the stretch.
Yeah,
it was like an 8 to 12 point game that the entire time felt like a 2-point game for me at least. And you kind of look up at the score and be like, oh, okay, we have some breathing room. And then I think they cut it to 6. At one point towards the end. Kyle had really nice timeouts. Like he had a good, like, I don't know how else to say, like his timing was good on when he was trying to stop runs and kind of get things refocused and recentered. The Lance Ware bench type unit was probably out for a little bit too long in the first half. But again, there was nothing. Other than that, there was nothing. No, Lance had a nice dunk, a couple good plays. There wasn't really anything else that was like, I have to complain about this later.
Yeah. I have a couple thoughts on Kyle and the rest of the team in the second half, but I want to hear from JP. I want to hear your perspective on this.
Well, I mean, what in particular you want to hear about? I mean,
the game.
There's really not much to talk about with the first half. It was just super balanced, both sides. Like you guys kind of, hit that right in the head. It was pretty straightforward, but it was kind of like you were waiting for Providence to stop with the shot making because they were making it like insane. I think we talked about it at half press. It was like Providence was shooting like 50% from 3 and Villanova was like 44 or something like that. Like it was crazy. And you're like, Providence obviously can't keep that up. Maybe Villanova can, but dude, when I got back to my seat, it was like, it was after the media timeout, and I sat down, and everyone around me is like, no, stand back up. We haven't scored yet. I was like, all right, okay. So, and then I saw the score, and then I feel like this is the same kind of thing that happens to me, like when I'm watching Seton Hall games, and I'm sure you guys can attest to this too. When you have a defensive coach like we all do, English, Neptune, Shaw, defensive guys, but when your offense stinks, your defense is just as bad. And that's really kind of like what I saw. Like, granted, I wasn't totally as locked in as you guys, but I saw a lot of open shooters for Villanova, like halfway towards the end of that second half, because Providence couldn't hit shots. Villanova was getting open shots, and it was just kind of like, rinse, repeat, basically. Miss a shot, open shot. And then it was they couldn't close 12 at the end of the game. Even though it kind of felt like they were gonna, they just couldn't.
I said that the game was over, and Chris told me to shut the fuck up. And it went from like 9 to 4, and I was like, "Oh, I might have spoken too soon." He's like, "No shit."
I think it was like it was like a 6-point game with like 2 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, it was right when they closed that gap.
It was in that gap.
It was getting right to it, and it was like Garway hit a 3, and you're like, "All right,
it was
something's
12
gonna
when I
happen
said
here."
it was over, and then it was 6 in like way too quick.
And that was one of the adjustments that was actually made is we sagged off Garway the second half. It wasn't Garway can't shoot, isn't it?
Is that the dude that you said let him shoot, and then I said we made it.
He made it, but we had been doing that the whole game, and letting him shoot was a good thing. And yeah, he made that 1 3, and it's like, all right, well, if he's gonna hit 3 threes to win this game, it's just gonna that's just the way it's gonna be.
Yeah, that's I guess.
But that was a big adjustment that we made, and it allowed us to kind of clog up the lane and allowed us to make it tougher at them for the rim. And then every time he was out there, it just wasn't valuable. And he's still a valuable player. Like, he's good defensively for them, so they were still trying to find a way to keep him on the floor. But down the stretch, we just kind of like sagged off, and it made it a little bit easier to defend and help on other spots on the floor.
Dual's going to be a good player.
He was preseason. They had him like some on NBA draft boards.
Yeah.
He probably shouldn't try to touch it this year, but like we'll see next year.
What was Oduro's final line?
Oduro finished 16 points, 9 boards, 2 blocks, a steal, and assist.
Wow. Actually, it was better than I would have guessed. I
It
felt
felt-
like we
Same.
Felt
Yeah.
quiet.
It felt
They
quiet.
did a really good job on him.
Yeah.
It felt quiet. We kind of were alluding towards this. I'm not one to complain about refs a lot, but it was definitely a Providence whistle. Definitely there was some calls where I was like, all right, we're getting ticky-tacky on our end. I think to start the second half, once again, I don't love using this because sometimes you just don't foul. But I think it was like 7 fouls for Providence before we got our first foul call. And it's like, all right, we know that like it's not actually that big of a discrepancy, especially the way that we play, where it's either a 3, but we're also going to the rim and just like fighting you getting there the whole time. So usually something gets called. But overall, it felt pretty good, and I was like proud to see what Kyle did. Chris, you mentioned you had some stuff you wanted to say about Kyle.
Yeah, I'll bring up Kyle in that context. Look, once it all shook out by the end of the game, I was like, I don't know about the referee commentary here, but like we've been saying all year, like, Kyle, can you show the slightest shred of fucking emotion as it pertains to the refereing? like attempt to try and get some calls in your favor. And he showed a lot of emotion in that game.
He was trying to get teed up.
Yeah.
I think at one point.
Definitely.
Yeah.
He showed a lot of emotion. He was very animated, whatever. Like, look, the last few years of Jay's years, we got used to this like stoic kind of guy on the sidelines. But early Jay Wright was very animated, very aggressive, etc. I think he kind of got to a point where he hit like enough of a rapport where it was like where Jay got benefit of the whistle sometimes. You know, JP is going to smile hearing me say that, but like you kind of have to work your way at that. You can't just like be the cool dude from day one. Like they kind of have to know your presence is felt. So I was appreciative of his emotion on the sideline there. And I thought the team fed off that well. The adjustments were really good in the second half. The defensive game plan was good. Look, JP kind of called it out, but like on one end, we were getting easy looks. On the other end, they were not. Right? Like that's partially game plan, partially coaching, obviously a lot of execution. But we talked about it on the last podcast, Willie and Trevor. We said, I want to see this team in order to improve offensively. This team needs to get to the positions where they're best at shooting. Like whether that's back downs from more or 3-point shots from more, putting Eric in a good position. Even the guy like Moore finding Lance Ware for a wide open dunk. That was a great play. Like we were finding all of the open seams against Providence, a pretty good defensive unit. Whereas on their end, we were just taking away anything that they were good at. Oduro's really good. So 16 points, I guess it felt quiet, but he's a really good player. And then obviously Devin Carter's going to get his, but that was kind of how you draw it up. Like, so I'm giving credit to, for the first time, I feel like it was a coaching win. Look, you got to make shots. We shot the ball really well, over 50% from 3. You're going to win a lot of games that way too. But I thought it was a really good coaching effort by him.
Devin Carter was playing like he was trying. We had him out of sorts, I think. There were a lot of plays that he was like trying to play like James Harden circa like 2018, 2019, like just trying to hunt foul calls on not 3-point attempts, but like the ball's in the air. So like, why aren't you giving me 3 foul shots here? And I don't watch enough of Providence to know if that's how he always plays. I don't think it is. But it was just interesting to kind of see what he was sort of resorting to after we obviously loaded up on him, and was kind of like, anybody else, please beat us. So it was fun to watch him kind of have to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Overall, I think like it just was. It was a good game. It was a game that we needed to get. We talked about what we needed to do down the stretch, and we waxed poetic about that for the whole last couple of weeks. And we know that we need two of the last 3 or next 3, and like we had we got it. And then Chris, you and I were talking about this during the game. There was a point where like, okay, on paper, yeah, we could lose this game. And even if we got up like 10 in the first, like, or we were up 10 in the second half, if Providence had come back, maybe you just suck it up, like whatever, it happens. But like there was a point in that game with about like 7 minutes left. And I was like, no, you got to close this out. Like this is just, you're here. This is a win that you need to get. And it's just here. And the team closed it out. And like, we haven't like, and I think we might give this person a little bit of praise a little bit later, but like, Justin closed the door, just like he did. Justin closed the door. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, yeah. And we talked about, I can't believe, I think it was after the Georgetown game. We're like, oh, there's a little bit more pep in his step. And then there was a Butler game. And it's like, I don't know, this is like starting to like roll, or Georgetown, I can't remember what order happened. This is starting to roll in the right direction. And then we said he's in position to be in a position. And I'm going to say right now, I'm going to change it. He's officially in position to come back. Like this is just like he looks good, and this is the Justin that we need if we're going to make any sort of Big East run, and then any sort of tournament run. Now, Brian's on, and I'm sure he has something.
I was going to say it's just in time.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Nice. I got no notes there.
Yep.
He's almost to his career averages. I mean, we almost got the Justin we had.
Yeah, but I think Rothstein tweeted a stat. He's like 14 of 25 from 3 in the last few games, which is good to see.
Yeah, he wasn't like a knockdown 3-point shooter before. That's actually, he's been taking good threes. That's fair. Plus, I like Rothstein because he likes March, and I like March.
I was just saying, over his last 3 games, his legs seem to be back a little bit more. If nobody else has anything, my final note from the Providence game is that was the least inspiring rendition of "You Belong With Me" I've ever seen from a Providence student body. They were so defeated. I think it was at a point where the lead was a little
too late,
felt a little too out of reach for them, and it was just nice to see how pathetic that was.
They got to adjust it to where like if you're down like 12 at the 8-minute mark, you just got to play it there when there's still a little bit more energy, because it was down 12 at 4 and they just didn't have it. I think in the beginning of the game I even said I kind of hope it's close at the under 4 so that we can get a good "You Belong With Me," and we didn't. They were just kind of like
yeah.
I was
still
happy
good
with
because
how it turned out.
It's still good because that song slaps, but like that's just
And also shout out to the one stray dude in the middle of the Providence student section next to us wearing a Josh Hart jersey.
True.
I don't know how he got in there, and I don't know if he got out, but good for him.
So one thing Chris pointed out in our chat that I'm going to agree with, I think everybody will. Justin Moore's emotions have looked sort of like the old Justin Moore, Justin Moore in the past.
He's engaged.
Games, which I think is an awesome and very important piece for the team.
Yeah.
And that's a Chris idea. I just said it for him, but it was something that he said to us.
I appreciate anytime someone can say the words that I would normally say.
Yeah. I'm your mouthpiece. Correct.
Thank you. Alpha Dog is Justin, right? Yeah. Like we can agree on that.
Well, I mean, probably Lucy, but you guys don't really pay attention to the women's team or ever talk about it. So like for the men, you know, Lucy.
Shaq Fit Man play could be Lucy.
I'm going to fight you, Brian. Yeah. So Justin, Alpha, I love. Shaq Fit Man play. I mean, I'm actually
number 2 on SportsCenter top 10.
Yeah,
today.
I'm actually completely fine with Lucy. The women's team is still just like on the outside looking in of the tournament. They're like they need to make a little bit of a run here. But it'd be cool to get both teams in the tournament. I don't remember. I know it's happened before. It happened when 2
years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Like literally 2 years ago. It happened 2 years ago. Time is wild. Lucy's game winner is definitely a nominee. Any other nominees for Shaq Fit play?
Lance Moore did something cool. I don't remember.
He had the dunk. He had the dunk.
He had the dunk at the dunk. I was amped.
I would give one that I just was a fan of was, it's not really the man play, but it was kind of a stretch of the 9-0 run I think it was a 9-0 run that happened between Hausen 3, Longino 3, Hausen 3 that really blew up to open the game. I missed something. What did I miss?
No.
I can't stop laughing at Brian's joke.
JP is losing it over Brian.
After meeting Brian, whenever he just talks now, like it's like so much funnier because it's just like genuine, authentic, just who he is all the time.
Oh, you've met him.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the problem. You've met him now, and now everything he does is funny to you.
Yep.
If he
Yeah.
said that
Mad
joke
to me.
before I met him, I wouldn't have laughed nearly as hard as I did.
Yeah, you would have been like, "Look at this fucking loser." now that you know him, it's like
I would have been
hilarious. Yeah.
but sorry.
No, so yeah, other nominee is the three threes in a row that kind of blew up in the game. That was, I'm not like a big screamer during games, but like I was yelling during that
Chris
period.
is.
Like, yeah, Chris was a big screamer during.
Chris is a big screamer.
What happened?
Nothing. I don't think there's anything else for
I missed
the
it.
play of the week except for Lucy's shot, and
Yeah.
I think anything else would be insulting. So want to jump to commercial.
What's up, everybody? We are fast approaching March Madness, and I want to make sure that you, your friends, and your family are all ready for that. So how do we do that? Well, we go to homefieldapparel.com, and utilizing the promo code Nova Insider, you're going to be able to go buy hoodies, t-shirts, shorts, all with the newest logos and the old retro logos that you love for all your favorite schools. It can be Villanova, or it could be St. John's. It could be Seton Hall. It could be Clemson. Wherever you go to school, wherever your loved ones go to school, go to homefieldapparel.com. Utilize promo code Nova Insider for 15% off your first purchase. Trust me, you're not going to regret it.
Willie, did you renovate your house? How did you get into that other room so fast?
I am very fast.
Yeah.
Like Forrest Gump, except I'm not an idiot.
Yeah. One thing to call out just with the home field stuff, if you guys still haven't ordered, if you want to order anything for March, it's probably about time right now to buy, I would say, with their delivery and how everything gets. If you want to have your stuff ready for the time the tournament starts, you'd order home field right now. Promo code Nova Insider, 15% off. Make a fake email, do your whole thing. Have a great time. All right. Well, now we can move on to the next part of our show.
Hey, we have a game on Wednesday.
Yeah, we have a game on Wednesday, and we have none other than JP to talk about can Seton Hall have their revenge for what we did to them on the Super Bowl. I think it was on the Super Bowl. Yeah, we always play on the Super Bowl.
It was their Super Bowl.
Super Bowl Sunday.
And this is everybody's Super Bowl now. You know, this is once again, we're in another must-win situation.
It's a basketball game.
Yeah.
It's a regular season basketball game.
It's a must-win situation in the regular season, especially for Seton Hall. For us, a little bit less, but like it'd be cool. It'd be cool to get it. You know, I'm not going to say I don't want to win.
Seton Hall, though, they've kind of owned Neptune, if my memory serves me correctly. Like in the 3 times they've played, like he's just. Or am I reversing that? JP, can you help?
You know, like sometimes like you meet someone and you're like, I really just think at some point I'm going to kick this guy in the nuts.
Yeah.
You're about 3 seconds away from having the car, Brian. I know where you live. I have your address. You told me.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, absolutely. Seton Hall has owned Kyle Neptune. I don't think that they've yet to lose a game. Memory serves me correctly. I don't know. I'm a little bit fuzzy though.
Yeah, I've been drunk the whole time.
This game is, I don't know if it's a must win for either team. I'm going to refute that a little bit.
Let's fight about it.
Yeah. We can get a little bit into the bubble talk, but it is very important. I do think that the winner of the game feels really good about their chances on Selection Sunday.
I think we win, we're in. Just full stop.
That's why I'm saying it's a must win, because I don't know if you take care of Creighton. I don't want to get that far ahead, but this would be a nice like insurance policy.
Yeah. But to either team, it would be a quad 1 win.
Yeah.
That would push us to 5 quad 1 wins. With our metrics, that's good. Seton Hall would move to 6, which is also like there's not a lot of history of 6 quad 1 win teams missing the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
So like Seton Hall would feel really good. So it's really like it's a hinge game, but I don't know if it's a play. I think it's a play-in game. I don't think it's a play-out game.
That's fair. I'll give you that. Yeah.
I agree with that. I don't think either team, like you said, Chris, needs to have it, but whoever does win it, punches the ticket.
Yeah. Obviously, absent like losing to DePaul or Georgetown.
Yeah. Which Seton Hall has a chance to do. So this is a chance for them to get some insurance on that.
Yeah, and Seton Hall will probably avoid, not probably, I think they're guaranteed to avoid DePaul or Georgetown in the Wednesday of the Big East tournament, right?
They're pretty much locked into the 4 because no one else is going to get the 12 unless Villanova wins both this week, in which case we would play in the 4-5.
I rather just
right.
We want the 6 because we want to win one and we want to just beat the crap out of DePaul and then have a chance to get another win and then have a chance to get 20 wins into the tournament and then you hit the 20 number and you're locked. Now, granted,
hold on a second though, because the big news out of the Big East this week is that Kolek is sidelined for the rest of the regular season. Marquette could definitely lose twice.
I think they're good at they played so well at Creighton overall, on aggregate, they played so well at Creighton without him. I think they're going to be fine. Who do they have?
The reading level on this team just skyrocketed,
which is tough. Yeah,
Marquette's got UConn now. It's at Fiserv.
Yeah,
but still, you don't want to be Kolek-less against UConn.
Yeah, so UConn, all right, that's tough, and Kolek's it's probably going to auto L, and then it's Xavier, and I think they'll be fine.
They should be.
Senior nights, though, man. Anything can happen on a senior night.
I'm just more bullish. I'm more bullish on Marquette. I don't know. I think they'll be fine. But in the situation that they lose to, what is that? I haven't thought this through. What happens in that situation?
So
where do they fall?
If Marquette loses 2 and Seton Hall wins on Wednesday, then Seton Hall would be the 3 seed. And Marquette would be the 4.
What? We don't want that. I don't want to place Marquette after 2 losses with Kolek back. No.
He might not be back, though. I mean, not a doctor, but oblique doesn't sound very good. And considering that someone said that he didn't make the trip to
he didn't travel with the team to Creighton.
That's usually a sign of he ain't coming back anytime soon.
Well, the instructions were posted, but he couldn't figure him out. He missed the flight.
That's what I'm saying. How much of those words do you really read into on that injury report? I don't know. I don't follow hoops enough, so I'm actually asking. When you look into that, is it easy? From a literary standpoint, is that the normal type of injury report, or are we reading too much into it? What do you guys think?
Yeah, we're definitely not reading into it more than Kolek is.
Yeah, because he wants to keep his confidence up and kind of mums the word,
All right. Oh God. So the Big East tournament. My voice got high. No, the Big East tournament.
The Big East tournament.
Big Screamer tournament.
Is this also hinges on the Big East tournament, right? Seton Hall is in all likelihood going to wrap up. No, you're locked into a bye. Seton Hall has a chance to get up to the 3 seed, which is huge.
Right.
And then, so it's bubble, it's Big East, it's the whole thing. Now, JP, how have you guys played since we last played?
It's such a loaded question because right after that game, they strung together 3, I don't want to say great games. The Xavier game that was really good. The Johns game, I don't want to say it was really good because it wasn't for most of it. They just played a really good second half and Johns johned it up. And then the Butler game, I don't know. Butler's been kind of dead in the water for the last couple of weeks. So I was really hoping for last week to kind of get a litmus test almost of all right, is this team kind of good or is it kind of bad? And they were fucking horrible all last week. So honestly, I have no idea what to make of this team going into this game. And obviously Villanova's on the other end of that spectrum on the upswing. So I really don't know. I really don't have an expectation for anything. Other than kind of like we talked about, it doesn't matter who's good, who's bad. It's always going to be one of those kind of gross rock fighty kind of games.
Fast forward to the 4-point game at the under 2 timeout.
There it is.
Just as a quick aside, there's a comments in the chat, and I wanted to address this because and is it a fact that Seton Hall has the tiebreaker with Marquette? What if Seton Hall, Marquette, and Creighton tie? Right. Well, Seton Hall and Marquette, Seton Hall would get it because they've beaten UConn, and Marquette would have lost to UConn twice there. So Seton Hall would get it. Now, if Creighton were to win, or I don't know, how would Creighton even tie? They'd have to lose to Villanova, which would be, in that situation, it'd be Creighton, as we just see, we have 3 tiebreaker. Timmy B just said it. It'd be Creighton, Marquette, Seton Hall because of the double round robin records, where Creighton would be 3-1 against Marquette and Seton Hall. Marquette would be 2-2, and then Seton Hall would be 1-3. So Seton Hall fans who are listening, you're hoping that you sweep it if you want the 3. If you like matchup wise think that's the better spot for you to be, which probably is. You because you avoid UConn, you would want to win out, Marquette to lose out, and Creighton to lose to Villanova or to beat Villanova, and then you should be fine and you won't have that issue. Sorry,
I think it's so funny at this point of the year when you're like doing all these hypotheticals, and it's almost impossible to keep up with every single one of them because you just got to take an Advil every 20 minutes to keep up and not have a headache.
Yeah,
I rarely try, and in this moment, I'm like, I'm doing it on the fly. Like, let's work this out right now.
Yeah, I didn't really do too much into it. Someone pointed out to me today earlier about the Creighton thing. I didn't even think of, I'm at the Marquette thing. I didn't even think about the Creighton ramifications of it. I didn't really even bother looking into it. I just assumed that realistically, looking at Villanova, they're going to split this week, whether they beat Seton Hall or Creighton. I don't know which one it's going to be, but they're going to be one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there's a strong chance we're having this conversation or we're seeing each other next Thursday in the quarterfinals. That's the way I'd put it. I think there's a split coming. I think there's a strong chance that we're the 4-5 matchup.
That'd be cool with me.
1-1 would be really difficult for us to be in the 4-5. Sorry, not to get into the hypothetical game again, but like St. John's has DePaul and Georgetown this week. So you assume that they're going to get to 11-9.
Yeah.
Or we go 1-1, could do the funniest thing ever
and go 0-2.
Yeah. If we go 1-1, we'll both be 11-9. They get tiebreaker over us, so we'll be the 6. So the only way for us to wind up in the 4-5 game is to go
2-0.
We have to go 2-0.
Yeah.
I don't even think that St. John's could lose. I'm not seeing them losing right now. So not against those teams. It would be absolutely fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
So I guess.
So who are we playing in the Big East tournament?
Playing a Big East team.
JP, whenever you want to kick him in the nuts, just go ahead.
I told you he's about 2 sentences away from me hopping in the car.
And then you only have 5 hours.
We can meet at Mohegan Sun or somewhere in the middle, and then that's when we'll fight.
All right.
But yeah, to take it to the court, what's changed for you all in the last month since we played you all?
Well, I mean, I guess first off, you got Kadar Richmond back to being Kadar Richmond a little bit more than he was before. Back up to speed. I mean, that game is just so hard to even take anything from because it was just all around it was garbage. Nobody played well. Like, Dre Davis is playing a lot better now than he did in that. Nobody played good in that game, so I can't even be like, compared to the last game, it was just a complete and total no-show. The biggest difference is that the game's going to be played at the Rock and not at Wells Fargo. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you lose at home at this time of year, then that's more of an indictment than really anything else. You know, especially if you're a tournament team. Doesn't matter really who you play. Obviously, if you're playing like UConn, that's different because they're a wagon. But basically, like 2 through 8, every team has a chance at this point to win at home if they want to actually play good basketball and any basketball in March. So they've been playing really well at home. So that's really the biggest thing they have going in their favor going into this game. I mean, literally I was thinking about it earlier. Outside of the Providence game where Richmond didn't play, they beat the brakes off of St. John's. They beat the brakes off of Xavier. They beat the brakes off of who else they beat up pretty good too there. I don't know, but they beat Butler pretty good. Like, they play well at home. The defense is much better at home because they can score better at home. But I mean, in terms of like what's different, it's really kind of just the big thing is just Kadar Richmond's playing like Kadar Richmond again.
How's Wusu playing? Teeing you up.
I have a take.
I saw a lot
hate
of
how Wusu plays. But I also know that if I played high major basketball, I'd play exactly like Wusu plays. So
Yeah.
it's pretty frustrating when I see it happen. Then I'm like, no, that's literally how you play. So
The thing with Wusu is like, I kind of feel bad for the kid because we only really notice how poorly he's playing when like one of Richmond, Dawes, or Davis isn't playing well. Because like when he's like the fourth or fifth guy and like he shoots, 4 for 11, nobody gives a fuck. But like when he's shooting like 2 for 8 early on in the game because one of those guys isn't going, everyone's just staring right at Wusu. So as much as it is like him being just purely decent offensively, it really is about the big three guys playing well. But I can't stand Dylan Adewusu. Like I like a lot of things that he does. He's a junkyard dog. He does a lot of dirty work. He's a good defender, but he just gets way too carried away offensively. He's out of control all the time.
He thinks he can do more than he can, and and it's so frustrating. He'd be, if he like played like a 6th or 7th man, I think it'd be like really good. He'd be not really good, but he'd be like valuable, and he's still valuable in his own way. But like, yeah, he just mixes it up. He's frustrating. He shouldn't be a guard. He should be like a center, but like he's a guard. So here we are.
The best way to describe Dylan Adewusu is he played 3 years for Mike Anderson. That's like the best way I could describe him. Like, there's anyone that's played for more than 2 years, Mike Anderson, it shows. It's very clear.
Although if Rick Pitino had Mike Anderson's team last year, imagine that.
He literally had an opportunity to, and he kicked them all out the door.
Literally said goodbye.
It's a hell of a hypothetical.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, look, when I look at the game, I think it's going to come down to what we always do when we play a good big man. Bediakos definitely fits that bill. Is can Eric Dixon drag him out to the 3-point line and create problems by inverting our offense? It seems to be like always the play here. I think matchup wise, it's somewhat comfortable aside from Kadari Richmond being the best player on the floor. For Villanova, it's a comfortable matchup for Villanova, aside from the fact that Kadari Richmond's super good. In our first game, I don't think he was fully right yet. Right? He wasn't 100%.
No, he came back in the DePaul game. Then they had their bye week, and then I think they played Georgetown on that Wednesday. They just didn't. It took them like 2 weeks, 3 weeks until after he came back to like kind of like acclimate themselves to playing with him again. Yeah. Like they played so bad, even in the Georgetown game the week before. Like it was terrible. But I don't know. I'll tell you what though, that matchup with Dixon scares the hell out of me right now because for whatever reason, this team refuses to properly defend a pick and roll. It's insane. I don't know if you watched the UConn game on Sunday, but I was literally ready to just start throwing shit.
Now, to be fair, there's a difference between UConn pick and rolls and.
Oh, of course. There's one thing I learned last week is that Seton Hall can't defend a 7-footer, and last I checked, Villanova doesn't have one. So that's the one thing we got working for us. All right, but just like so many basic things are like struggling with. But I think a lot of that too is like I was mentioning earlier, like the lack of being able to score, especially on the road, really kind of derails your defense because both games, the second half defense was horrible, absolutely horrible.
Yeah. And actually, what JP just said is actually one of the things I want to call out for as like a key for us is obviously like we're going to be on the road. I think I've gotten to a place, and I think I said this last pod, I've gotten to a place where like I think I just trust our defense in general to travel. Like it's going to be fine for the most part. Like I think we'll be able to make it a rock fight at the very least. But the question is just like, does the shot travel with us? If the shot travels with us, like it could be a pretty good day for us. We'll just put it like that. It could be a pretty fun day for us. But I never trust the shot going like not that I never trust a shot, but on the road at the Rock, like
for 2 games in a row.
Yeah, I'm imagining this is just going to be a rock fight. Like our defense will be there, and it's just how do we execute. And to your point, I think Dixon's doing it. And then from the Seton Hall side, I think honestly the big thing is how do you match up against Hausen, and not match up against Hausen because you can throw anyone on him from a 1-to-1 standpoint, but it's how do you scheme against him running off. Whether it's a hammer screen, whether it's just like him coming off a ball screen and moving off of that. It's how do you honestly prevent him from getting the ball, I think is probably the biggest thing. And how do you frankly, sometimes just face guard him. Just don't let him get a shot off. If they're able to do that, I think we've seen the stats. I can't remember what the number is, but we're way more successful when Harvard when Hausen hits 3 threes. I don't know where that came from. We're way more successful when Hausen hits 3 threes as compared to, I did it again. I'm going to stop talking.
Third time's a charm.
Most people can't talk on this podcast now. I think key to the game is going to be on our defensive end. I agree that I think that our defense is going to travel. But one area of deficiency in our defense is giving up extra possession after extra possession after extra possession. And if I'm reading this correctly, Bediako, I knew he's a good offensive rebounder. I knew he's a good rebounder. But he's the 5th best offensive rebounder in the country. Is that am I reading that correct?
Probably. I don't know the exacts, but that's the one thing where he's so much better in the rebounding department than I ever thought he was going to be, and especially in the offensive side. He's the only guy that really crashes the glass.
Yep, he's 5th best.
Yeah, he's got a good nose for the ball. He's physical, and he goes after it. So, I mean, those combinations of factors are crucial. And then, obviously, the Alamir Dawes experience, as you like to call out, is he hitting his shots or not? So,
the biggest thing for me that scared me watching Villanova against Providence was the ball was moving pretty well, I thought, for a good majority of it.
The first game since DePaul,
It wasn't sticking. It was moving around well. And if you watched 5 minutes of a Seton Hall game last week, you were say, okay, that's going to be an issue. Because literally every time that, Creighton or UConn was moving the ball, open 3. Consistent ball movement, open 3. And, even Providence fell into that a little bit. But, again, I think it kind of goes back to the offense being in a lull. But Seton Hall's especially struggled with that when teams move the ball really well because they're going to let up a ton of open 3. So if it's one of those days where Villanova shot doesn't come with them, I'm not going to be upset about it.
I'm looking at some numbers just because I'm curious. We were talking about passing the ball well, and I feel like there's a correlation when Justin Moore is able to be that person who's the catalyst. When Justin Moore plays more like a traditional point guard and is able to get people together, that our offense looks better. I don't know if this is correlation or causation, but it's just an interesting.
I don't know, but we'd be talking about single-digit games in his career. He is. I've always been big. Justin Moore is not a passer.
So this season, he's had more than 4 assists, which at the college level, I think 4 assists is essentially 8 at the NBA.
Yeah.
That's you're doing good. Well, he's had 4. He had 5 versus Texas Tech, which we won. And then he had 4 versus Butler, where we should have won, but we just decided, nah, we're not going to.
So it was just a more time.
Yeah. Marquette, he had 6, but Marquette was just kind of our defense didn't travel.
Yeah.
That was actually the home game, sorry. And then Providence is the last time there. And he looked, what we did last week, Saturday, was really great. So hopefully that's momentum, but it's just one game. Momentum, we'll see how this looks like on Wednesday.
We got a question here on what do you think the spread will be? Ken Pom has it as a 1-point Villanova win, but it's a 48% chance. Usually Ken Pom is pretty reflective of spread, but I could see it being a pick'em with Seton Hall being at home.
Yeah, but it's the Mark Armstrong homecoming game.
My first thought was pick'em.
Yeah, I originally thought it'd be Hall 1.5 because it's at home, but I don't know if that'll be the case after this weekend's metric results.
Yeah, I think it's. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes pick'em or if it floats around.
Nova 1.5. I just checked on a betting site.
Okay,
it's already out 1.5.
Yeah, that's close to pick'em as you get. Really.
Yeah, it'll probably either or will land around somewhere in there. But
I looked on Las Vegas HTTPS.
That'll get bet down, I think.
I would think so, but like I said, because of the weekend's metric results, it doesn't surprise me to see that it's Villanova favored.
Yeah.
Just as an aside, we talked about Bediako being just the 5th best offensive rebounder. So I was looking at it. There's of the top 10 offensive rebounders in the country, 3 of them are in the Big East, which is interesting.
That's not surprising, though.
Yeah. Bediako. See if you can guess the other 2. I'm curious.
Soriano?
No.
Mm-hmm. No.
What?
He hasn't been good enough.
Klingon's
at 8.
Cockburner.
Nope.
Is it Iguodaro?
It's not Iguodaro.
The Providence guy?
Nope.
Fremantle. Fremantle. The dude named Hopkins.
We're still missing.
Is it Ejiofor?
It's not Ejiofor. It's not Dixon.
Who's left? Jalen Thomas?
Nope.
Oh, is it the Georgetown kid?
It's Supreme Cook.
Oh,
Yeah.
Supreme Cook.
Yeah.
Trey Patterson.
Yeah, Trey Patterson's actually
Supreme
right.
Cook I should have gotten. I actually
thought you were going to get him because you were talking about how much you actually like him. Yeah.
That
was such a layup
name.
of a question, too.
Yeah.
Have we talked about that name before?
A lot of good names in the Big East.
So many. I'm just learning them, too, as I watch when we play those teams. I'll be interested to see who the good guy in Seton Hall is because I slept through that last game.
Kadari Richmond.
Oh, we've been talking about him.
Shaheen Holloway's pretty good.
Dude, is that the guy that came from St. Anthony's, the high school that in the same town as Seton Hall?
Yeah, that's him.
Did he keep the same salary because it was like a lateral move?
Yes.
Because I know he didn't move with the same color. He kept his suits.
I think he actually took a pay cut. I don't know, though.
St. Anthony.
It's not public information.
Yeah, St. Anthony's has a better NIL because it's a high school.
I think so.
Actually, no, jokes aside, I did see this tweet. I'm seriously not joking about this. Someone said that if they could, I think it might have been Rothstein, if they could give an award to the best performance versus NIL like payments that Seton Hall would win is sincerely asking, do you guys not have a ton of like perceived NIL support yet? Because obviously we're all guessing.
It's not anywhere near like the halves of the league.
Yeah, and that's I thought that was an interesting thing because I think coaching job, like if you're doing it with no perceived resources, that's obviously like they're obviously playing well.
I've had this conversation so many times with Seton Hall fans where they're like, "Oh, we need to get like up to there," and I'm like, "We're never going to do that." But also, like, you don't really. This is going to sound kind of dumb, but you don't really want to because it's against your brand. It's not the kind of player you're going to bring in. Like, you want like the kids that are like scrappy like that. When you're getting $500,000, you're not scrappy like that. I'm sorry, you're just not.
Or the kid who wanted to go to one school his whole high school career doesn't get recruited, goes to Seton Hall to like to stick it to. Yeah, no, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, you find the Jaden Bediakos and Dre Davises of the world, and you make them good players. Like that's who Seton Hall is. Like they're not going to do anything otherwise.
For sure.
Like the problem that you're trying to solve is that there's rich teams and that there's poor teams, and then there's 50 feet of crap, and then it's Seton Hall, and it's an unfair game. And yeah, you've been gutted. We're like organ donors for the rich. You're just giving players away. UConn's taking your kidneys, Nova's taking your hearts, and you sit around talking. We have the same old good body nonsense, like we're selling jeans, like we're looking for Fabio. We got to think differently. If we play like the Yankees out here, or we try, damn, I ruined it. I ruined it.
You were so close too. You were so close. You had it.
Dang.
Was that a shot quote?
I was going to cut to Pete and say, Pete, why do we want Dylan Adewusu? And it was shot saying because he makes jump shots.
The free throw line.
If we try to play like the Yankees in here, we will lose to the Yankees out there. There we go.
There it is.
That's baseball.
Yep.
I know that. I know the Yankees.
Yeah.
I learned about them on the
show. It was a perfect Moneyball thing, and I was like, I have to go for it.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, Moneyball's good. That Oakland Athletics are swimming in those weird World Series trophies. So.
But that's why we buy their drinks because we have the money.
Yeah, that was a weird comment. Like, I want to address this. This very nice Providence fan came up to me after the game. He's like, "Oh, hey man, great game. Drinks are on you." And I just go, "What? Because I'm rich." And he was like, "Your team won." And I was like, "That makes no sense." Like I didn't know how to apologize because the dude was really nice the entire weekend, as like I said, everybody else was.
Everybody was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel that bad, but like I thought about it. I got this. This is a Thunderbolt cable. This is like a $600 cable. I'm just folding it for fun.
All right, JP. So maybe last question. I don't know if people can ask, but Seton Hall will win if. Finish that sentence.
they can make shots. It's really that simple. Because if you can get Al Dawes hitting shots early, Dre Davis is hitting shots, it makes it so much easier for Kadari to get in there. Because Villanova is going to do the same thing they did at Providence the second half. Same thing they did at Seton Hall the first time and just sit in the lane and let people shoot. So if someone's making shots, whether it's Wusu, Coleman, oh God, you're going to give me anxiety thinking about both those two shooting threes. But mainly Dawes and Davis, if those guys can get going early from deep, then it gives a whole new kind of look into the game. But I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts. Like it could be something where Villanova takes up their, shot too. It could be like the game we played last year at the Prue, where it was like unreal shot making for a half, and then it was gross and just a free throw game down the stretch. But it really starts and ends with can they make shots? Because if they can make shots, they'll end up playing better defense because of it.
Yeah, this game, we're talking about him. This just feels like Dylan Adeus is going to hit 17 points on like 5 threes. I'm going to be screaming on my TV on Wednesday. So just prepare yourself, guys. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be the Dylan Adeus game.
I'm going to be screaming in silence while at the Prue. Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, yeah, you're going?
I am going. Haven't bought the tickets yet, but I'm going.
Chris says, damn the family. I go to the games, the away ones and the home ones.
Right. It's March, baby. This is March.
Yeah. Chris's wife knows better than to speak to him in March.
Yeah.
And April and really good.
My daughter wakes up and I just look at her and go, this is March. Shut up. I'm not talking to you right now.
Shut up.
Not now, honey. Next month. Not now.
Next month.
Talk to me when you can average 14 and 10.
When you can average 14 and 10 and the full 40 podcast doesn't talk about you because you're on the Villanova women's team.
It's ridiculous. They never show any love to the women's team. It's like it's a mental. Me, I know everybody on the women's team and who they play and when they play. I know those things.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You're a huge fan.
The coach is Denise Dillon.
That's true. That's a true fact.
They play at the Finneran Pavilion. And they play all the Big East teams that the men do. So it's really easy.
They actually play the men's team from the Big East. They actually play. Yeah.
The home and home. They play their home and then our home.
Yeah.
Trevor, do you have one for us?
Do I have one what?
Oh, wow.
Oh, I do. Because Chris was feeling a little under the weather, I decided to give him a good one. We're going to be talking about Dominique Cheek.
Oh, God.
St. Anthony's was mentioned earlier, and I kind of like perked up a little bit. I was like, oh, this will be fun. So let's first of all, I can't speak to this because obviously I wasn't on campus when he was coming in, but I feel like everybody was really excited about him. He was a McDonald's All-American out of Seton Hall. I watched him destroy my my future high school's team like 3 years in a row. And when we found out, oh, this kid's going to Villanova, I was like, oh, awesome. We're getting like a big time player. And I think he had his highs and lows, obviously peaks and valleys, I guess. I don't know, Chris, you were obviously a contemporary and lived through it all on
I think Willie overlapped with him in school, but I was there for the recruitment.
Yeah. I overlapped school.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, yeah. So Willie overlaps with Chris. You were obviously at probably like the peak of your fandom when this happened.
When we landed the recruit. Yep.
Yes.
So this goes back to Hoops Mania, my senior year. I think T-Pain was the guest artist. But we were going nuts. We were all talking. We got like a, hey, Villanova fans actually paying attention moment where we knew that he was going to be there at Hoops Mania, and we started a "We Want Cheek" chant. And it was loud, and it was very clear and audible. And it was like, wow, look at us. We're actually helping.
You guys started this issue then.
Well, did the people in the front row lead the chant, or were they like 3 or 4 rows back?
No, they were in the second deck because that's how you actually make things happen. Yeah. Good question, Brian. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
But we started this chant. We are directly responsible for.
You signed then and there, yeah.
Pretty much.
Heard the chant.
Yeah, he gets to campus, and everyone was excited about him because that was an absolute insane recruiting class. We had just come off a Final Four, first in Jay Wright's tenure, and we're thinking to ourselves, "Wow, Jay Wright got to a Final Four with a bunch of guys who were like, 50 to 150 recruits. Now give him 5 stars and like, watch out, like here we come." And he was in the Malik Wayne's class, Muf Yaru class, and the Prophet Isaiah Armwood class. And that class really sucked.
Outside of Moof. I mean,
Yeah.
Moof was good. The rest of the class.
Yes.
It was a disappointing class.
We talked about Malik on an earlier podcast. Like Malik's reputation in Nova World is solid. And I think we said there that he kind of got caught up in a bad class. Isaiah Armwood transferred after like 1 or 2 years. Muf Yaru was a model citizen. I love that guy, but like it took him a while to develop. He was very rough talent coming in. And Dominic Cheek was like the poster boy of everything that Jay Wright then said. I changed my recruiting strategy and then brought in guys like Ryan Archer-Diacono and whatever. And it was basically like that was a direct shot at Dominic Cheek, just like the kind of guy who came in with like expectations of it's me time. Like, I don't want to sit and wait, this, that, and the other thing. Just like, that coddled player type thing. And I'm dogging him because I fucking hate this guy. I never met him. I hate him. I literally cannot stand.
He had that game winner once his rookie year.
We went 13-19 in his last year on campus. And every year, his first year, we flamed out late. We got a 2 seed, but that was because Scotty Reynolds was amazing. His second year, we flamed out late, got an 8 seed, and got beat pretty solidly by George Mason in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And then we went 13-19. It was just like, it was literally like we thought we were getting an amazing class that was going to take the program to new heights. And literally, they ruined everything in 3 years.
Well, what didn't help was the class after was actually worse. It had Hilliard, but Ty Johnson, Marcus Kennedy, and Ash. I can't say his name. I don't want to butcher his name.
Ash Kubu.
And those guys seem to fit in that Dom Cheek thing. So you kind of had now 4 guys on the team that seemingly played the exact same selfish brand of basketball.
Yeah, they're
so
terrible. The culture was as bad as it was ever under Jay Wright's era.
And so that was my freshman year that season, the 13-19 season, and that was. I mean, once again, this is the first Wildcat of the week that we're talking about that isn't just like praise and love. Like this was a miss. Cheek, it just like he was a chucker that was inefficient, like played selfishly. A lot of talent. There was a lot of talent there, and just like never really got it to like click in a way that worked for us. And then Brian, I think you bring up a good point. Like that other class, like obviously Hilliard is 10 out of 10. We love Darren. Ty Johnson was like I liked him as a kid, but just like wasn't like and I would say like Ty and like Marcus to a lesser extent, like it wasn't necessarily like a personality thing. It was just kind of like it wasn't going to work.
No senior leadership, no older guys going the way. And Marcus went to 4 high schools, so it's not shocking to any of us that Marcus went to multiple colleges.
Yeah. So it was an interesting time with Dom, and that just gets to that like freshman year, my freshman year team, which like that was interesting. Like that was the Anaheim, the 76 Classic out in Anaheim where we lost to both St. Louis and Santa Clara. And I was what is going on over here?
Every school that has a team in Oregon.
Yeah.
St. Louis, not in Oregon, right?
No, I was making a reference to how we went 0-4 in our turkey tournament last year.
Oh,
okay. I didn't know if you like St. Louis is in Missouri.
Yeah, I know you're the map guy, but
we also lost to Missouri that same season too.
Missouri,
sorry.
You want to talk? I'll take this team and last year's teams over those 2 teams, those last 2 teams that Dom Cheek played on. I hated those teams. Like with a raging passion. Yes. Even if this year's team doesn't make the tournament, I prefer watching them and rooting for them way more than 10, 11.
I was gonna say it's almost like insulting to this year's team. Like,
Yeah,
this is
I'm
fun at least. Like, I'm nowhere near even close to that with this. Yeah.
Yeah, no, right. But just to point out the fact that like we could have 2 NIT teams in a row, and I like them more than that fucking even that NCAA team that lost to George Mason. I hated that team so much.
13-19 was our worst season since 92-93, the first year of Lapis.
Yeah.
Depends who you ask, because somebody would have said last year was the worst team in Villanova history.
The worst run, the worst 2-year run. Yeah, I heard that. I saw that too.
Do we have a? I don't want to talk about him anymore. I hate his guts so much.
I was trying to make you feel better by getting some stuff off your chest. Yeah,
I do feel better about it, and I'd love to talk about it again. But it just the whole thing just really pisses me off.
But now we have a POW for our guest.
Yeah. So to because we have JP here, we're gonna do a POW, not a prisoner of war, but a pirate.
I thought you meant JP wasn't allowed to leave.
I thought Miles Powell. Time up.
Oh no, yeah, no, I meant so our POW, the pirate of the week, is Miles Powell. JP, I'm gonna give you the floor to talk about Miles Powell. I think you'll hear none of us say a bad word about Miles Powell because I think we all love him. But go ahead, JP.
You know, I was mad at Miles for a little while. I think every Seton Hall fan was because of the way things shook out at the end. But
yeah,
you know,
it was really rude of him to start that whole pandemic so that the tournament got canceled and he couldn't play. Yeah,
I saw me to
something
bat.
like that.
You're talking about the lawsuit thing, right?
Yeah. No, but this year kind of gave me a newfound appreciation for Miles Powell again with Kadari Richmond and his load management stint that he took in January. I mean, for Miles Powell to play on a torn meniscus for the entire year, and everyone that was involved around him that year would say the same thing, where towards the end of the year, like it wasn't good for him, like barely moved. Like you could tell when we were just watching him play, but you know what, the fuck kid was going to play the Big East tournament. He was going to play the NCAA tournament. He was going to keep going. So, you know, I think it's time that, again, I'm sure some people will be pissed still about the whole situation, but I think it's time that we kind of all turn the page on that. I'm sure some people have to, but I know a lot of people still hold some animosity because it's, you know, their school and everything's proud and whatnot. I think, you know, luckily Willard leaving kind of softened that blow. But anyway, you know, Miles Powell, one of the all-time greats, easily my favorite player that I watched in the last, you know, 15 years or so of being a fan. Yeah, I'm sure you guys really loved him. If it wasn't for Miles Powell, probably would have only seen maybe, you know, half the tournaments that they made because of all those times when they beat Villanova at the end of the year, they needed to do it to go, which is kind of like what this game is. You know, it's where like if you're Seton Hall, like you don't lose a game to Villanova. Your last week of the season, you need it to go to the tournament. This is a game that, you know, I wouldn't say like you historically win, but you know, the tough guys kind of set the trend for you to do it. You know, you got to do it. I don't know if we got one of those guys like Miles Powell. I don't think Kadari's that kind of guy, but Miles Powell was a rare breed. He was just a dude. He just was always on go. You know, he dealt with a lot of shit in his time at Seton Hall. His brother, and then obviously his senior year, he was hurt for most of it. He was an all-timer.
Where did he grow up? Is he a Jersey guy? I don't know anything about him prior to Seton Hall.
Trenton.
Yeah, he is Trenton born and raised. He went to South Kent. He went to Trenton Catholic, and then he went to South Kent. I think he went to Trenton Catholic, but I know he's from Trenton.
Well, Trenton
he ended
makes
up
the
at
world
South Kent. But Trenton makes the world takes. That was like
Says
the
on
coolest 3 months. I'm telling you right now, the college basketball like community peaked in that like late February because that was when John Rothstein was doing those stuffed things. That's like when John Rothstein was like on like the up and up. Like that was like he wasn't at the peak yet, but he was like right at it, and he was still continuing to go up. And the community itself was incredible that time. And then the moment happened, and it really just threw everything out of whack. And John Rothstein has never recovered, by the way.
Miles Powell is, I think, Chris's all-time favorite basketball player.
Absolutely.
Maybe top 5, including Villanova players. Yeah.
No,
I love Miles Powell. I love Miles
I listened
Powell.
to this podcast, wondered why a Seton Hall fan was doing a Villanova podcast when I started.
I just
Each week you
adored
guys
him.
so Seton Hall won this week. And Rob would be, we're going to talk about Nova.
There's a couple reasons for that, though. First of all, I hated because there was this Miles Powell, Marcus Howard thing for a while. And I hated everything the Marquette program stood for, especially in that period of time, because I hated Steve Wojciechowski.
You didn't like Andrew Rousey?
Oh my God.
That was a joke. Fucking
God, fuck that guy.
Thank God they had Theo John.
Yeah. So I loved Miles Powell almost like a little bit because of as like an FU to Marcus Howard. Like it was just I saw it as like were you a Miles? It was like, are you a McDonald's or Burger King guy? Are you a Coke or Pepsi guy? Like I was like, no, I'm a Powell dude through and through.
Yeah.
And like Gus Johnson's like the Trenton makes the world takes quote was just I think it was against us. It was an absolute electric.
Well, someone said that in a game. I just said that because it's on the bridge.
No, that was like Gus Johnson screamed that. As
I don't know who that is, but yeah, I mean, it says it on the bridge when driving to Trenton. So.
Yeah,
I like that. Good job, Gus Johnson.
That clip, like I watch a lot of like clips randomly, time and time again. Like I watch a lot of like, I'll watch the 2016 Villanova like runs. I'll watch the 2018 games. I'll watch 2022. I'll watch 2009. Yeah, whatever. All those stuff. There's like two non-Nova thing or I guess that's still a Nova one, but like two non-things like Nova pro Nova things that I'll watch. I watched the Purdue Tennessee game from 2019 constantly. 2019. That was like Ryan Klein was hitting fadeaway 3-pointers, Carson Edwards, and it was like an insane game. I watch that all the time. And then I watch that clip of Gus Johnson screaming as Miles Powell pulls up from like 37 feet versus us. Like it's like Jermaine Samuels bricks a layup, or no, doesn't even brick it. I think Mamu blocks him at the rim, and then it's an outlet to Powell, and he pulls up from literally like just before half court, nothing but the bottom of the net, screaming. And I watched that. I'm like, damn.
It was such a heat check, and he just absolutely fucking drilled it. And Gus Johnson's, we're trying to make the world change.
And he sounded like that too because it was the end of the game, and he had been screaming. It was a really good game.
Into timeout, just amazing. But like, I just really like the fact that he left everything on the floor. I loved his there was a whole conversation around his body transformation while he was there. He was like kind of came in like totally out of shape.
He was hefty.
And became like one of the more fit guys in the conference. So I appreciate that because a lot of Brian will appreciate this particular joke, but a lot of Villanova people thought that was not possible unless Shaq was your coach.
Right. Yeah, there was another strength coach in the country working.
But he also had a knack for the big play, like an absolute bucket, but just had a knack for the moment and a big moment, and like had that clutch gene. And I just always appreciate that about him. It's just like a easy guy to root for.
The MSG game against Kentucky when it was probably the same shot, just it was against Kentucky and not us. That it was that bomb to really. It wasn't the dagger so much. Might have been the dagger. I can't remember, but you obviously know which game I'm talking about. He pulls up from like 30 plus.
It should have been. Should have been. If I remember this correctly, he hit it. There was a tie game. He hit a 3, which was like an insane shot too. But then Kentucky went down and scored, and then I don't know if I'm remembering this correctly where it went to overtime. But I just remember that he hit a shot that should have been the shot, but Kentucky hit an insane shot. But then it led to Miles Cale's shot.
Yeah.
Yes.
My memory of Miles Powell
was it quickly? I don't remember who did it. Yeah.
I think one of the games, I think it was his senior year, they beat Villanova at the Wells Fargo, like last game of the season or one of the last. Remember Jay Wright grabbed him and talked to him for like a long time in the handshake line. And he's like nodding. You tell, it's like respectful. So they asked Powell on the stand, like, what did Jay Wright say to you? He said, I'm so happy that I don't have to coach against you anymore. Like, you're leaving. And he goes, Miles Powell goes, you've won 2 national titles since I've been here, so I'm not really sure what I'm doing. I thought that was like a funny in that moment. Like, kid was like, I'm the bane of your existence. Like, but he just seemed like in my minimal time, he seemed like an awesome. Like, I don't follow it as close as all you guys, but even from like the casual fans, seemed like an awesome.
Yeah.
Like
my favorite game that I was. Go ahead, JP. Sorry.
I was gonna say to your point though, Chris. At that time, like his junior, senior year, there was a lot of animosity between Seton Hall and Marquette. I feel like between like the 3 teams between Seton Hall, Marquette, and Villanova, that's where like all the hatred was kind of displaced towards different places. But then you add in the fact that like like everything else now with Big East fans, like when there's one storyline, you're either on one side or the other with it. And I feel like fans from around the league all went towards Miles Powell and not Marcus Howard because it was like, who's your guy? Because you need
normal
to pick
people.
That's a good point on either side. Like that, like seriously, that's a really that's been going on now for 3 years. Like this is the thing. Which one are you?
Yeah. You got to pick a side. You can't just be like a bystander. You got to be one or the other, or you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Are you with Friar fans or are you with Jeff Goodman? I mean,
yeah, you have to have an opinion.
Yeah.
They should do that more in politics.
Yeah.
Yeah, politics needs more of that, like more people on sides, I think, to like really dig in.
To your point, JP, my favorite game that didn't involve Villanova that I went to the Big East semifinal in 19, and that game was absolute insanity. Seton Hall Marquette, who got ejected? Someone got ejected, right?
So I think Theo got ejected. They thought Powell got ejected, and then he ran back out of the tunnel.
Yeah, that's right.
Like WWE?
Use the bathroom.
Yeah, it was
Undertaker music?
Yeah, pretty much.
We need more of that in basketball.
More theatrics.
Yeah. But Powell had 22 points in that game. Seton Hall won by 2. That was an awesome game.
That sounds cool.
That was an insane tournament year because they played Georgetown in the first round of that game with a 930, and then he had like 35, I think, in that game. It was nuts. The entire first half, he was like 10 for 10. It was something ridiculous.
31. Yeah.
31. It was insane. It was like the most casual 31 you ever seen in your life, too.
Oh, that was the year that
for me, that was Dante DiVincenzo against Michigan, but go ahead.
That was you lost to Wofford. Fletcher McGee was just killing. Yeah, that's what it was. I was trying to remember what was the tournament. Yeah.
That was the year. And it's funny we mentioned the clutch gene because he had that shot to win it against Villanova in the final and he just missed it.
Yeah. That was that 2019-2020 team was fun. I mean, there's 3 NBA players on it, or 3 people who played in the NBA. Powell played, Rodens played, and then Mamu's seemingly made like a little spot in the league for himself in the near future for the future.
Yeah, that was a fun team. And then who would have thought that like all those dudes like Quincy McKnight and Roe Gill their next year, what they would have been. That was insane what they turned into being.
Damn, COVID really took away a good run from you guys.
Yeah, it's all right. You know, at least I look back at it now. It's kind of like funny with like the way the world works with NIL and whatnot. Like if that happened now, it would have been 10 times more damaging than it was when it happened. Because if you can just like simply just take away a Sweet 16 run, like that's so much money for a school like Seton Hall to get in their pocket. I mean, granted, they probably still would have saw a good amount of it just in different areas, but it would have went straight to the basketball program if it happened now. You know, what are you gonna do? Shit happens.
That was an awesome team.
Yeah, shit happens. Bats are eaten in China, and then the virus breaks out.
Yeah,
that's
still a fun season though.
Yeah, we all have microchips in our arms.
Yeah,
not me.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about him, but JP and I were randomly on a text thread talking about Jeremy Hazel the other day.
Because we know who that is.
Yeah, you're right. We don't have to talk about him.
I'm gonna be real honest. I don't even know what that is. So.
You know who that is.
All right, I'll say this because Willie's a hoop appreciator. So if you go on YouTube and just search Jeremy Hazel, he was like 6'5" Miles Powell before Miles Powell. That's like the best kind of way I could just quickly summarize it.
All right, now I got you now.
He had enormous ears.
Public library Wi-Fi. I can't go on YouTube. So can I get the Twitter video of him? Like xvideos.com. What do I look for?
HTTP.
HTTPS
backslash big ears.
colon backslash or forward slash
6'5" guy dominates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just go to X videos and just search that. You'll be good.
Yeah. No, nobody in the library is gonna care.
Yeah.
I had sound on too.
Trevor had to take his face off. Oh man.
Off the ropes all night on this episode.
I'm shocked.
Just a continuation from the weekend.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I did not see this coming.
For anyone who wasn't there, this was basically what the weekend was like. It was just this.
Jeremy
Me being
Azell had the
normal and
biggest
doing my
ears in the
thing.
universe. It was insane. That guy was crazy.
If you want to really see some funny shit, look him up on Instagram. I'm not going to give any context to it because I know people are going to do it, and I want them to be fully surprised and laugh their ass off when they see what I'm talking about. It's hysterical. I promise you it's worth a look. I promise.
Instagram.com.
He's followed by A-Ray.
What's his name?
Oh my God.
I didn't mean do it like right now.
Bro, we follow directions. What's his name?
Jeremy Hazel.
It's Brian Martin.
Yeah.
All right, this is a bad podcast. We're gonna call it here. We can do this off. We can do this off. This is bad. We can cut this part.
That's terrific.
All right. Just to wrap up, thanks y'all for listening. We have the Providence game on Providence game. Jesus Christ. The Seton Hall game on Wednesday, and then we finish off with Creighton on Saturday. We will probably be recording next Monday. It doesn't seem like we're going to make it a change there. Sunday? We'll figure it out. Monday or Sunday. Once again, you'll know one of those 2 days. And by then we will know the Big East tournament seedings and standings, and we'll get into maybe some predictions. It'd be kind of fun to predict player of the year, all Big East stuff. Like, we can have a little fun with that. And then after that, it's the most wonderful time of the year. The second weekend of March. So anyways, good. I think that's going to be everything we have. And as always, let's go Nova.